Shawn Edwards is the guest on this week's Mulligan Stew podcast. I'm Terry David Mulligan. You can find the details at mulliganstew.ca. Thank you for subscribing and being out there every week for us. Next week, Joni Mitchell from the archives. It's not only an interview, it's a video as well. And we'll put that on our YouTube channel under my name, Terry David Mulligan. Shawn Edwards has been on, I think it was September. He's a producer, he's a creator. He's on the board of directors of the Critics' Choice Association. And as such was very involved in the Critics' Choice Awards that happened last Sunday in Los Angeles and London. He is a film reviewer and entertainment journalist for the Fox News Channel in Kansas City, Missouri, WDAS. And I'm grateful that he has taken the time to talk to me. We're good friends. However, he has created the awards event called A Celebration of Black Cinema. And from that, I'd like to know if the Black Movie Hall of Fame in Kansas City that he's working on spun out of that or vice versa. We're going to review how the Critics' Choice Awards went down last Sunday, any surprises, and how they might affect or reflect the Oscars coming shortly. We'll talk about the Critics' Choice Super Awards for films that celebrate all the superheroes in our world, in our film world. I think I'm actually going to ask him for some predictions for the Oscars. We're going to talk a bit about Halle Berry, Will Smith, Jessica Chastain, Power of the Dog, Spider-Man 3, and the aforementioned Black Movie Hall of Fame in Kansas City. And that's where he is. Let's go now. This is Shawn Edwards. I'm Terry David Mulligan. This is the Mulligan Stew podcast, an extended edition of Film Talk. When we started this podcast, it was Mulligan Stew podcast, and then in brackets, the subtext was music, film, food, and wine. And those four subjects have gone away as part of the graphics, but I still do music, film, food, and wine. And we're going to do film right now with Shawn Edwards, who is a producer, a creator. He's on the board of the Critics' Choice Association. He's the entertainment and film specialist for WDAS in Kansas City, Missouri. How you doing, Shawn?
I'm doing great. It's actually St. Patrick's Day.
It is, and yeah, I have a Guinness in my hand, my friend.
I do not have a Guinness in my hand. I had a couple of beers earlier. I actually had to work today, and I just left a screening of Morpheus starring Jared Leto. Yeah. And whenever the studios ask where I would like to screen a movie, because I was the only one watching a movie, I always point them toward my favorite local independent movie theater, Screenland Armour, independently owned by Adam Roberts. And he appreciates the business I send his way. So I have unlimited amounts of pours whenever I go watch a screening. So I had a couple of beers as I watched Morpheus starring Jared Leto. You've never had me on to talk wine. We have to do that one day.
Really?
I'm getting more and more into wine. I'm trying to learn. I'm trying to upgrade my collection. So we have to do that someday.
What do you mean collection? Why don't you just drink it?
Well, I do. Well, that's what I mean.
Are you starting a cellar?
I'm trying slowly but surely. Yeah, it's hard because I'm not that into it yet, and I drink more than I store.
We're going to talk. Oh, no, we're going to talk. Are you leaning red or white?
I'm right down the middle. I'm half and half.
Okay. We're going to start with rosé. Hold on. Anyway, Shawn Edwards is a guest and has been on this podcast not too long ago. We were talking about it was great. The Critics' Choice Awards heading in, and they have happened just days ago, the 27th annual
Sunday night
in L.A. and London, which is a big deal because we'd like to spread that footprint. And you were involved in the creation and the running and there on the night. So the information would have been coming at you hot and heavy, not just off on the stage, but off the stage, what was going on around you. Your impressions of the night.
The impressions of the night, it's just, it's always, regardless of the year, it's always an amazing evening. it's when all the stars converge under one roof and they get a chance to conversate and visit one another. You got to remember, these guys are working. They're on different movie sets and TV sets and different parts of the world and handling different elements of business, in all these different places. And it's the one night where they can all sort of like come together and catch up. That had even more meaning this year because of the pandemic. We didn't have an in-person show last year. So it's been a while since a lot of these people have been able to be in the same room at the same time and just sort of, celebrate one another, celebrate cinema, celebrate the industry. And it's just a great time because it's a table setting. There's food on the table. There's champagne. There's wine. You can order cocktails. And, the best moments happen during the commercial breaks when everybody sort of gets up and they go visit different tables.
That's
and,
right.
You get to see one another. And, sort of selfishly, I've been doing this for a while, and it still blows me away sometimes when you're in a room like that with so many stars that, specific stars will, recognize you or know you by name and just say hello or come over and give you a hug. Now, full disclosure, I sort of have the cheat code now because I've been producing the celebration of Black cinema. So I've sort of become synonymous with the celebration of Black cinema event. So if there's ever been a star that's attended the celebration of Black cinema event, they most definitely kind of, have a vague recollection or know who I am, and it's kind of cool. I mean, when a Will Smith says, "Hey, come here, buddy. Let me give you a hug. Thank you for what
and a
you
great
did."
shot,
So
a great shot that you got out of that too. That's fantastic.
Yeah, it was cool. It was a cool photo, but it was a cool moment, and I like genuine, candid moments like that. And then he'll just turn and say, "This is my wife, Jada," and like cool things like that. It just makes everything worthwhile. But no, it's a room full of. I know this sounds cliche, but it's a room full of love and energy and excitement, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just a great night. Now everybody's not going to win, of course, because you have 6 nominees in each category and only one winner. But I think the true testament of a great show and a terrific night is even when a lot of the stars didn't win, they still hung around until the end of the show. They hung around until the end of the show. I think that's a beautiful thing. So it's a great show, and you can still watch the 27th annual Critics' Choice Awards. It's fairly easy. All you have to do, no matter where you live, is download the CW app. That's the network, the CW app. You can download that app for free, and then you can type in Critics' Choice Awards or 27th annual Critics' Choice Awards, and you can watch the show in its entirety on the app for free.
Okay, and thank you for that. And I just want to make the point that it's not the Oscars, it's not the Foreign Critics Award, it's none of those. It's not BAFTA. It is a very singular room and awards because it's the critics, the people who spend their entire lives watching these films, dissecting them, living with them. Right.
So correct. Right, and you're one of the members who vote, so you have some say on who walked away with the awards on that night. So
now, okay, so Power of the Dog and Ted Lasso won 4 awards each.
Yes, they did.
You saw that? Well, you saw it coming for Ted Lasso? How about Power of the Dog?
Well, I 100% saw it for Ted Lasso. Ted Lasso is sort of like the gift that keeps giving. I mean. Sometimes it's about timing. I mean, the first season landed right smack dab in the middle of the pandemic when people were looking for something that would put a smile on their face, and that's something that show really did and did well. I'm a huge Jason Sudeikis fan. He's from Kansas City. I live in Kansas City. Yeah. I know Jason. I know Jason's mom. They're cool people. So congrats to Jason on the series. But it's one hell of a show, though. It really is funny. It started off as a spoof promo for NBC Sports, and then they were like, Jason and his partner were like, we got something here, and they turned it into a series. It just shows you can take something very small and turn it into something very big and have a huge cultural impact. But it's a great show. So I saw Ted Lasso. I was actually surprised it only won 4. I thought it was going to win more, but no, Ted Lasso's Ted Lasso's a great show. Now, Power of the Dog's trickier.
That's a little trickier. It won picture, it won director, it won screen.
What else did it win? It won a couple. Yeah, it won a couple awards. But it deserves, Jane Campion.
Cinematography.
Cinematography is beautiful, yeah. No, Jane Campion is just, she's not a director. She's an auteur. She's an artist. She's an artist who uses film as her medium. Does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah.
When you look at the work, it makes perfect sense. Absolutely.
Yeah, she's some people are directors. Like they're all about the execution, and they're all about figuring out how the actors are going to hit their mark, and they're wholly technical. Well, Jane Campion's technical as well, but she's also very Picasso, Matisse-like. She's almost like she's a painter, but she's also a poet. But she's also sort of a jazz singer. She's part Pablo Picasso, part Ella Fitzgerald, part Maya Angelou. In her, like that's what she is. And when you watch, if you're familiar with her work or you watch her film, you get that. What she did with Power of the Dog is a story about the Old West. It takes place in Montana in the 1920s, and you can that world she creates and the way she tells her story. It's so wholly unique, and it's a tricky film to watch. I mean, admittedly, the first time I watched it, I wasn't sure I was a fan of it. Like and I can admit that. I mean, you're not going to immediately fall in love with everything you watch. And I'm not sure. I don't know about you, but the first time I watched Power of the Dog, I absolutely positively struggled with it.
It struck me fully. I was ready for it. I understood.
Okay.
I understood what I was looking at. I also understood the argument that went on about this is not a Western. This is not how you make a Western.
It's a non-traditional. I mean,
exactly
it
that.
takes place in Montana.
It's been done. No, it's been done. No, it's been done to death. Why not have a different view? Why not take a different stretch into it? And that's what she did.
Yeah, she did. No, and so it's a strong movie, and I understand why it wins awards. I do ultimately believe it will win Best Picture at the Academy Awards, and I believe she will win Best Director.
Yep.
I mean, what would she be, the third woman ever to win Best Director? I'm surprised she hasn't already won Best Director. It just shows how hard some of this, because it really is about about timing. But she's gifted.
I think she's also going to get adapted screenplay as well.
I believe that as well. I believe that as well.
And listen, I love the fact that Will Smith won for King Richard, and I love the fact that Jessica Chastain won for Tammy Faye. But I was very happy that Jane Campion won director for Dog.
Yeah, I was ecstatic about that. But no, I agree with you about Will Smith, and Jessica Chastain had such a wonderful career. One of my all-time favorite movies is Molly's Game. I mean, she's absolutely phenomenal in that movie. Yeah. It's a great movie. No, she's good. Zero Dark 30. I mean, there's so many roles. I believe it's her time. But I mean, I did enjoy Kristen Stewart and Spencer. I thought she was the best part of that movie. I mean, best actress is just a tough category all around. One of my favorite performances of the year wasn't even nominated. I thought Jennifer Hudson in Respect was just out of this world.
Sure.
She didn't even get nominated, and neither did Lady Gaga for House of Gucci. I thought that was just a really well-rounded and
there were a lot of choices. Yes, there
a lot of choices. A lot of choices.
You did see your friend Halle Berry there.
Yes, I did. I got a chance to talk to Halle and her beautiful boyfriend Van Hunt, and they were very appreciative of being back in the room. We were in that same very room for the Celebration of Black Cinema event, in which she delivered a speech that's still going viral. It was such a fantastic speech. But at the Critics' Choice Awards, she received the See Her Award.
Yeah.
Totally deserved it, and totally delivered another moving and engaging speech. I mean, she's become a master speech deliverer.
She spends time on it. It's not off the cuff. You can tell that she's thought.
No, it's not off the cuff.
She embodies the values set forth by the See Her movement. So
yes, she does.
Congratulations.
Yes, she does. She's worked hard for that. I mean, when you spend decades doing what she's done, and opening the door for so many and just, I don't think people understand how hard it is when you're the single person out there, not only representing an entire race, but often she was representing an entire gender.
Yep.
That is, I can't imagine the weight of that. I remember I was fortunate enough to have a conversation one time with Sidney Poitier, back in the day, rest in peace. And he was just talking about the magnitude of just representing an entire race back in the late 50s and 1960s when he was virtually he was operating at a time where he was literally the only one. Like, there weren't even any black security guards or black cooks in the kitchen on the studio lots. He was literally like the only, and then that representation when you're on that 40-foot screen and for a lot of people, this is their only representation and only connection with a black person. Man, every line you utter
is historical.
Right.
It's all historic.
Everything that comes out of your mouth is wholly important. Like, you can't have one misstep in front of the camera, and you definitely can't have any missteps behind the camera. Because he was talking about how, like, he would get scripts and he would have to go through the scripts, and so he's literally making edits to protect the culture, to protect the representation, not making changes artistically, like just making just changes that represent an entire, like, can you imagine like editing a script to make sure you're protecting how an entire race is seen? No way. I could not handle that. I can't even, man.
If you're just joining us, his name is Shawn Edwards. He is a producer. He's a creator. He is on the board of directors of the Critics' Choice Association in L.A. He's a film critic and entertainment journalist for the Fox News station in Kansas City, Missouri, WDAS. He's a friend of mine and a friend of yours if you're a film buff, because he knows of what he speaks. Now, I was just looking at the totals. The top three were HBO with 10. Well done. Netflix with 7. Apple with 5. The studios were not well. They went away disappointed. They had 1 and 2 and 3.
Well, there's an explanation for that.
Okay.
The studios were more adversely affected by the pandemic than the streamers.
Okay.
They were. A lot of the streamers had already acquired content, and they were able to, roll through the pandemic and still deliver new titles, where most of the studios, their margins are much smaller and slimmer than the streamers. So their window from production to delivery is a lot, it's tighter. And so when the pandemic hit and, you couldn't film, a lot of most movie sets shut down for a period of time, and then a lot of them were slow to come back online. So the studios just didn't have as much content to compete with the streamers this year. I think it's going to take a couple more years for it to balance back out. But, truth be told, like, the streamers were already headed toward taking the lead anyway, because they have so much cash on hand and they're just churning out so much stuff. And then when they're not churning out stuff, they're acquiring stuff. Like Apple acquired Coda. They pay like $25 million at Sundance for it. So when you have that combination of you can produce your own stuff and you can acquire stuff as opposed to just producing your own stuff. And then a lot of the studios, because they were in financial trouble, they sold off a lot of their stuff too. I know Paramount sold off a bunch of stuff. I think Warner Brothers sort of like trickled down some so it's tough. It's gonna be tough treading for the studios in the next few years. Probably to be honest, probably the next decade or so before it balances back out. If they can even.
You think it will balance? Because I'm not holding my breath on that one.
I'm being nice. A lot of people listen. You got a lot of industry people listen to your podcast. I'm not trying to burn bridges or make enemies. Okay. So I'm going to say they have a shot at it. I mean, honestly, I think you're right, but, hope springs eternal.
Well, I wouldn't like anybody to go down for the count. That's as simple as that.
No.
Okay.
No, you don't. No, you really don't.
Shawn Edwards, How about predictions for the Oscars? Now that you've seen the Critics' Choice unfold,
yes.
Are there any truths in front of us?
You know what? We have what I like to call award season fatigue. Like this, there's so many award shows, and there's been so much talk about, best picture, best actor, best actress, that by time the Oscars, the Academy Awards roll around, it's a pretty done deal, and it's pretty boring because I don't foresee much of a shakeup when it comes to the Oscars. I think it's Will Smith's the best actor. I think Jessica Chastain's the best actress.
Okay.
I think the guy that won for Coda is best supporting. Ariana DeBose is going to win best supporting for West Side Story. Jane Campion's going to win for best director. I mean, if there is a surprise, Coda could be this year's Moonlight.
Okay.
Everybody was like, La La Land. At the end of the night, it was Moonlight. I mean, there could be, because Coda's sort of like that film that has momentum, and it's a feel-good story. People like voting. They like to feel good when they vote. That's definitely a movie you would feel good about if you voted for it, So maybe Coda for Best Picture. I still think it's Power of the Dog for the win. I personally thought that, King Richard was better than both, but, you never know. I just love that. I just love the story of King Richard. It's because it's got that universal. It's just so universal. You just said, if you want something, go and get it. Practice hard and achieve it.
If you're just joining us, his name is Shawn Edwards. He is a producer. He's a creator. He is on the board of directors of the Critics' Choice Association in L.A. He's a film critic and entertainment journalist for the Fox News station in Kansas City, Missouri. The second Critics' Choice Super Awards, which is all about superheroes.
Yep.
In the film category, Spider-Man 3, No Way Home, took film. Andrew Garfield took the actor, and I love this. Willem Dafoe, of course, was the great villain. There's been very few villains as good as Willem Dafoe. And in the series, it was Squid Game got 3, and WandaVision got 3. So Spider-Man, No Way Home, the big winner, yeah?
Of course. I mean, Spider-Man, No Way Home is a big winner in a lot of categories, not just Super Awards. I was disappointed Spider-Man No Way Home didn't get nominated for Best Picture. It's the movie most real people went out, spent their hard-earned money on to see at the movie theaters.
Yes, sir.
It's very popular. It was a great movie. Everything Marvel does seems to work no matter which studio puts it out, whether it's Disney or Paramount or, in this case, Columbia, Sony. It's a fun movie. I like what they did with it. I mean, like I said, I wish it had been nominated for Best Picture because it's a good movie. It's well done, and it deserved to be on that stage along with the other 9. But it wasn't. But it won a Super Award. But, when we look back at 2021 in the year of movies, that's probably going to be a one movie. There's always a singular movie most people remember from any given year, and Spider-Man No Way Home is going to be the 2021 representation.
He's Shawn Edwards. Always welcome on this podcast. Shawn, you are the creator and the producer of the Celebration of Black Cinema, and I'm kind of wondering, did the Black Movie Hall of Fame spin out of that Celebration of Black Cinema?
No, it's funny. I'm glad you asked that question. That's a great question. Actually, a Celebration of Black Cinema spun out of the idea I had for the Black Movie Hall of Fame.
Okay.
The Black Movie Hall of Fame has been in my head for years and years and years and years and years. I just didn't know how to execute it. So the Celebration of Black Cinema was sort of born from that idea because it was a lot easier to execute an event than to actually come up with a brick and mortar facility where you can talk about the history of Black film and honor the people who sort of elevated it. And so I had an opportunity with a group of businessmen here in Kansas City that they purchased an old movie theater and want to turn it into a mixed use space. And so we kind of came together on the idea to house the Black Movie Hall of Fame in that building because they have the resources to get the building rehabbed and they have the resources to get the idea jump started. And so that's where we are now. We have a big event on March 30th in Kansas City, Missouri, where we're going to announce the first 10 inductees into the Black Movie Hall of Fame and sort of use that as the beginning stages of our fundraiser because you need lots of money to create these things. And it's not a museum. So, we're not going around like Indiana Jones and trying to hunt down artifacts from old classic Black movies, but it's a Hall of Fame. It's going to be an interactive sort of experience that goes through the history of Black film from the early 1900s through today and into the future.
Okay. I have one more thought, and then I'll let you go. And that is, I happily sit on the committee at the Critics' Choice for the documentaries. And it completely changed my view of film and my thought about documentaries, because that first summer there were 400 documentaries to screen.
So many.
It was ridiculous. However, some of them changed my life, and I'm thinking, coming now, Shawn, you know this, because of this invasion, this war in the Ukraine, there are documentaries being shot that will set the world on fire if we can just get the film out of there, get the makers out of there, and get their editing done, and let the rest of the world see what's happening.
Yeah, it's going to be scary. You make a great point. I've already heard stories of a lot of courageous people in the Ukraine who have cameras, who are documenting everything that's going on. And like you said, in probably a short amount of time, we're going to see some really powerful storytelling come out of there, so people can know what actually happened, so people can see the truth, so people can see the atrocities of war, the devastation of what's going on. I mean, these filmmakers have always been the eyes and the ears of telling the story of every war, going all the way back. I believe the Civil War was probably the first really battle documented with film, because it was right at the time when motion picture cameras were being invented and developed. Yep. But World War I, if you see some of the footage, it's like, oh my goodness. World War II, Korean War. I mean, every war, you have these courageous filmmakers who get right up in the mix of battle. And a lot of filmmakers lose their lives capturing this stuff and trying to tell these stories.
But Shawn, in this day and age, with all of the cameras and technology, we are all camera ready. Literally, we are all camera. Every one of us is a camera.
Yes, everybody.
And that's why the Ukraine story and the COVID story, from the nurses and the doctor's perspective, it's going to be very powerful. We are in the right business at the right time. We can watch this unfold.
Yes, we are.
All right. So how do people follow you? So how about a social handle or two?
Yeah, my social handle is my S as in Shawn. The first letter S, my last name Edwards, then KC for Kansas City. I think you can find me most places under S Edwards KC, or you can just, the Google machine is amazing. It's SHAWN Edwards. If you type that in, much everything I've ever done in life pops up, which is a scary proposition. But it takes you. It'll take you to all my TV stuff. It'll take you to all my social media handles. All the events I've produced pop up. And your podcast pops up.
As always, camera ready. Shawn Edwards is camera freaking ready.
I try to stay there. I learned from the best. I learned from you. I mean, I started doing the press junkets back in the day where everybody was business ready to do every interview. There was no such thing as wearing a T-shirt and jeans back then. No.
Thank you for this, my friend. And then I'll think of it the Oscars, and just congratulations on the Black Movie Hall of Fame.
Well, congratulations to you.
Thank you, man.
You sit in on the marketing and promotions committee for Critics' Choice, and we broke some records on social media, and we had a pretty good rating. So. And you help with that. I mean, you know the business. You're as smart as they come. So thanks for your insight. Thanks for your input. But thanks for this. I love this. Thanks for the podcast. And like I said, next time you have me on the podcast, before I come on the podcast, I want you to recommend a bottle of wine. I'm actually going to have a glass while we talk next time.
All right. Well, watch your email, because I'm sending you a couple of bottles. Okay.
Thanks a lot. I appreciate it. Thanks for the info. Thanks, my friend.
Shawn Edwards. He is a producer. He's a creator. He is on the board of directors of the Critics' Choice Association in L.A. Is a film critic and entertainment journalist for the Fox News station in Kansas City, Missouri. Shawn Edwards, producer, creator, on the board of directors of the Critics' Choice Association, organized the celebration of black cinema that's had a great start to its life. He's working on the Black Movie Hall of Fame in Kansas City. He's also a entertainment reporter and film reviewer for WDAS in Kansas City, Missouri. And he spends a lot of time in Los Angeles, of course. Shawn Edwards. As he says, I'm easy to find. Just Google Shawn Edwards. He's the guy. SHAWN, Edwards. Did I mention that next week we have an archive interview with Joni Mitchell? I'm trying to remember how and when we hooked up the way we did. Maybe I'll know by the time the podcast rolls around. But it is a really good conversation with Joni, and it's videotaped as well. So you get a chance to watch it on our YouTube channel. Thank you for subscribing on Spotify, Google Play, Apple Podcasts. The website is mulliganstew.ca. We are the Mulligan Stew Podcast, you and I. Thank you for being out there. Take care of yourself. Careful. Cheers.